A recent conference was held in Oxford to discuss the Holocaust. I can tell you something about it. It won't surprise you. It was organized by Robert Maxwell, which isn't his real name. He is of Czech origin. His real name is Hoch, or allegedly Hoch. He is a man of rather murky origin and about as rich as Ivan Boski, which makes him, again, a very dangerous opponent indeed. They can put up colossal sums of money to propagate their own money-spinning viewpoint. This was an organization of all the accepted linientreu historians, of the brand that I would call gleichgeschaltet. They can only think in one direction. They had the blinkers on. They haven't learned to think sideways. They haven't learned to think for themselves. And they are the ones who are themselves largely responsible for keeping the propaganda wheel spinning. The lies are continually churned out because these people repeat them with their ranks and names and titles of professor this or doctor that in front of the lies that they produce. I personally made no attempt to get into the historians' conference in Oxford because I knew that I wouldn't get in. They had taken the most extraordinary security precautions to ensure that no opposition voices, no critical voices, no questioning voices were permitted to enter, which I think shows that we have them on the run. We've got them on the run. They had people with walkie-talkies, they had armed guards, they had police protecting the buildings in which they were meeting. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when I speak around the world, as I've done over the last 2 or 3 years, last year I spoke in 167 cities around the world, I don't have armed guards. Frequently I arrive by myself carrying a suitcase and I go into a hall where there's an audience about as big as this, and I don't need people to protect me, because the truth, contrary to what Churchill says, the truth doesn't need a bodyguard of lies. The truth stands by itself. But these people were protected by the kind of measures that I previously only seen bullion shipments being protected. I spotted this when I went in on the very final day when they shifted their venue from Oxford to London itself. This was about 3 weeks ago. They shifted their conference centre to the Westminster Hall in London, and it was advertised in all the newspapers as being a public meeting with public questions and question time and a report by all the participants on the conference on the conclusions they had reached on the basis of 200 or 300 scientific and learned papers submitted to them, all proving unanimously that the world is flat. But no, it wasn't public. When I arrived there, I'd taken the precaution to submit an application. I received a notification that my registration had been accepted. That's the only way you could get in through the doors. But when I went up to pick up my badge from the front table, I had the rather humiliating experience of having a security man running down the stairs at full tilt, snatching the badge and the papers from my hands and explaining to the astonished woman who'd handed it to me, "This man is not permitted to come in." Okay, well, this wasn't entirely unexpected, but I can tell you what I intended to do had I got in. I'd got with me, under my arm, an enlarged aerial photograph of the camp at Auschwitz, which was very kindly supplied to me by Mr. Zundel, who I mentioned already. I have to mention I could quite easily pretend that I haven't got this information from him, or the documents or facts, but that would be unjust. He has done the work and the credit goes to him. And I got this aerial photograph of Auschwitz from him, and he in turn got it from the Allied archives down in Washington. None of the other historians have bothered to do this work. And I had this photograph this big, and I wanted to take the photograph into that meeting, and I'd already had photocopies made of it, 12 photocopies made of it, the same size. And I wanted to give the photograph, the 12 copies, to the 12 participants, to 12 learned historians, including this mysterious alleged Slovak Jew, Vrba, sitting on the stage. I wanted to give the map to these 12 people and 12 colored felt pens and say, will each of you please, without consulting the other, draw in where the gas chambers were, and sign the map. Sign the map so that we can agree on this as a future standard reference point for our later investigations. So it's probably just as well they didn't let me in, because the whole of the body might have caved in at that point if they'd come up with 12 different, rather like Spot the Football, those games, of course. An equal measure of chance